Welcome to the practical part of Lesson 2. As we mentioned previously in Lesson 2, we did not include the practical as part of that video to keep that video short. In addition, there are two more programs that we are going to show you just to make this lesson a little bit more special. Please open your browser at this URL or this link here and make a bookmark of this link so that you can be able to access all the code for all the training lessons that we have. Once you've opened your browser to this link or to this URL here, these are the practical projects for these lessons. And in lesson 2, if you click on the link, we showed you the Hello World and the Jack the Ripper programs. Now we are going to have a look at the Meal Enquirer. Click on that link there, the mealenquirer.java. Create a file called mealenquirer.java, like it says here. In your command prompt to say Notepad. And when the Notepad pops up, you copy the code from this page and then paste it into yours. I'm not going to do that. I already have the code. For the Linux people, you can say nano. Then you can paste your code in there. Let us compile this file, javac. And you can see there were no errors. It compiled. Let's have a look and see what we got. Here we have mealenquirer.class. Having done that, let's run this. And it asks you a question, what is your favorite meal? And I'm an Italiano, so I'm going to type a pasta. I'm a Dodecanese Italiano, you know. And it says your favorite meal is pasta. Let's look at the code. At this point in time, we want to keep the lesson simple, so we're not going to delve too deep in the details. You will pick that up in the next 3 lessons. So if you make an attempt to watch the next 3 videos, you will learn quite a lot about Java, especially if you do the practicals. The first part here, it created something that we call the reader. Now we need that so that we can run the readline command to get input from the user. You see, when you say print line, we write to the screen. So this is how we prompt the user to display something on the screen. And when we use the read line, we then get the input back from the user. If we look in the output there, you can see it displayed me this message here. What is your favorite meal? Here. And that's what it prompted me. So I typed pasta or whatever you typed. As soon as I hit the enter button, then this text here gets returned. And that's what happened here. It got returned and it got saved in the variable called favorite meal. And then what we did here is we ran a print line and we said your favorite meal is plus favorite meal. So whatever you typed there came into the output there. This is a very simple way to get input from the user and output. As promised, after every lesson, to give you a program that you can keep and use. If we go back to the browser and we return, so let's go back to the top, just click on training code, then open the practical folder and open this random quotations.java. Create the file. Take what you find here, copy the whole thing, paste it into your notepad, and after that you say file save and file exit. Let's now compile it. It compiled without errors. Now let's run this. So that's what you would get, and now let's run this. And it displayed a message. Let's run it again. And it displayed a different message. Now let's go and look at the code. Now, I'm not going to go too detailed into this code because this is going to be part of lesson 3 and lesson 4. This part, all you need to know is that here we have 5 messages that we store in what we call an array. And then here we use random numbers and we retrieve one value from this array. And by using a random number, we are randomly picking out a different message every time out of this array. And we are saving that in a string called quotation, and we are printing quotations. So that's basically how this works. Now it's time to build and play with a project that we can use. So let's go back to the top there, practical. Now there are 2 files here. We've got a file utility and a to-do list. So let's first open the file utilities and let's create a file utility. So let's open this with Nano. Give the Linux guys a chance to have a look. And this is what we get. You would then copy the whole file. And then you would paste it in here. I don't want to do that because I already have the code in there. And if you scroll down, you can see the whole thing is there. I have already created that file. I'm just going to compile it with a JavaC. And there were no errors. Now, file utilities is a library, and that means that there is no main method. We use libraries to make our code smaller. So I don't reinvent the wheel. I keep on adding wheels to my project. And this is one of the wheels. You get to keep this utility class, and every time you work with files, you get to use this. It's now your code. And every Java project where you need to read and write files, this is an excellent utility to use for that. Let's go back to the practical folder. And now let's open the to-do list. So let's say Notepad. And then take this code as it is there, drop it into your Notepad, file save, file exit, and then compile it. JavaC. And it compiles. Now we can run it. If you remember the Meal Advisor program, there we prompted the user and we got input. Now we are going to do something similar. We're going to prompt you to give us information, but this time we're going to write it to disk. So we are going to actually create a to-do list file so that you can, every time you run this program, it'll add to your to-do list. So this is the first Java practical program that you have. Let's run it. Please enter one line to save to your list. I'm Italian, so I want to get a pizza. It then displayed get pizza. That was what I typed. Let's have a look at the code so that we can understand what we were doing here. I'm just going to move this up. Now, in our to-do list program, there are 3 parts to it. The first part is our main method. Remember in the Hello World program, we had a main method. So whenever you run a program that has a main method, the code in this method gets executed. What we did here is to make the code small. Look, the real code of this method is only 2 lines of code. The rest is setting variables and security things. You don't need to worry about that now. You will learn about that in lesson 4. Underneath that we had 2 private. You see, these are now private. This was a public method. These are private methods. So let's just see how we called them. We have a variable called text to write, and we call a method get one line from the user. So this method here, get one line from the user, it's got a single responsibility, and that is to display a message to the user. Like we did in the previous program, it displayed a message to the user, and it was this. Now that we have the user prompted to type something, we then use the read line to get that back from the user, and that text that we got back, this method returns that. In Java, we have 2 kinds of methods that return values, here's one, and void methods. These are methods that don't return values. So all this did was displayed a message, got the user to type, and returned that value. That value that we returned, we then stored it in that variable there. And then we called the next method, and there we gave it the file name. Look here, we saved the file name as todolist.txt. So here we called the method write to file. And this method gets what we call parameters. It gets 2 parameters. The first parameter is where we pass it the file name, and the second is the text to write. In other words, whatever I typed here, we want to write it to disk. So let's go and look at this code. You see, here's the parameters, string file name and string text to write. And there's a little bit of code here. You don't need to worry about this code. We will explain this code in lesson 3 and 4. We use this in lesson 3, 4, and 5, this code. And all that it did is it determined if there was a file. If there was a file, it appended to it. In other words, wrote to the bottom of the file. If there wasn't a file, it created a new file and wrote to the file. That's all this code did. And then when it finished, we displayed a message, saved, and we put the file name. So here it is, saved, and we put the file name. So now if we open this file, there should be something inside it. And I've been playing with this. So let's have a look. Cat. And you see, there I had other things stored in there, and now it went to the bottom of the list and it added get pizza. You see, I typed here get pizza and it now wrote it to the bottom of the file. We trust you found this interesting and useful, and please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. And also invite your friends to have a look at our lessons. They may benefit from that and our channel will grow. If there's something you would like to see in the future, by all means leave a comment in the channel. It will be useful for us to know what you're interested in.